You're listening to this podcast, so I know you've got a curious mind. Here's a helpful fact you may not know yet. Drivers who switch and save with Progressive save over $900 on average. Pop over to Progressive.com, answer some questions, and you'll get a quick quote with discounts that are easy to come by. In fact, 99% of their auto customers earn at least one discount. Visit Progressive.com and see if you can enjoy a little cash back. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National average 12-month savings of $946 by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive between June 2024 and May 2025. Potential savings will vary.
Pepsi Prebiotic Cola in original and cherry vanilla. That Pepsi taste you love with no artificial sweeteners and 3 grams of prebiotic fiber. Pepsi Prebiotic Cola. Unbelievably Pepsi.
You know, it's going to be an exciting week when we just hit record, and I've already finished my coffee. Like, it's gone. It's gone.
What makes that exciting? That sounds pretty miserable to me. That sounds like the worst way to start a week ever. Out of coffee.
Well, that means that I'm already caffeinated way more than I thought. You ever get to the bottom of your cup and you're like, oh crap.
When I see the bottom.
No.
Yeah.
Oh no.
No, because there's always more.
I finished that way quicker than I thought.
There's always coffee in the banana stand, Joe.
We can't do that, OG. We have a show, and I'm committed to this audience. We're going to get the show done. Then I'll get more coffee.
Okay.
But for now, raise your mug. Raise your empty mug, in my case, or your full mug. What the hell are you drinking,
backwards.
Doug? Coffee out of a can?
Yes. Lime flavored Kirkland sparkling water coffee. Yeah, that's what I'm drinking.
On behalf of the Men and Women Making Podcast at Mom's Basement and the Men and Women at Navy Federal Credit Union, as we do every Monday, here's a big salute to the troops that kept us safe all weekend. Thank you so much. And now, let's all head out and stack some Benjamins together this week.
Stack them. Let's get some stacking going.
This is hot, Ray. Symmetrical book stacking, just like the Philadelphia Man's Turbulence of 1947.
You're right. No human being would stack books like this.
Listen. You smell something?
Live from Joe's mom's basement, it's the Stacking Benjamin Show. I'm Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug, and last week we mourned the death of longtime personal finance columnist Jonathan Clements. But we can do better than that. Today, we dive into 5 of Jonathan's shiniest pearls of wisdom that'll help you create a better financial plan. Plus, we'll answer a question from Stacker Cat with a K, who thought, I'd better call Saul-Sehy and OG. Kat's worried about her emergency fund and her investments. How should she prioritize them? And don't you worry one little bit, because of course, I'm going to rocket this show into the stars with some absolutely nuclear trivia. And now, 2 guys who are the pumpkin spice of financial podcasting. Well, one is shaped like a pumpkin and the other's pretty spicy. It's Joe and OG.
I got to be the spicy one in that one, I think.
Well, I mean, with the mini skirt, yeah. I mean, you're the spicy one.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. Super happy you're here. We do have a great week of shows this week. We have, of course, our great headline today and those pearls of wisdom, Doug, that you just so brilliantly mentioned. Mel Dorman stopping by to talk real estate on Wednesday. How long has it been since we've discussed real estate on the show? It's been
like months. 2 or 3 days.
Yeah. Right.
And then our friend Sean Mullaney joins our roundtable on Friday. But that's what's coming up this week. Who's coming to the mic right now? You heard him. He's here, ready to go. The OG is with us. How are you, brother?
Woo!
It is super to be back on a Monday, isn't it? Always so excited about getting into Stacker land.
This is kind of like the middle of the chaos for me. It's fall. We're not to the holiday stuff yet. We're just kind of really, and for us, like the podcast stuff, our chaos is a little different because we have to do some recordings ahead of time so we can, enjoy some family time and that sort of stuff. And that'll be crazy too. But all of this stuff right now, like it just rolls into another week for me. And it's like, oh my God, is it Monday already? Like I have to restart my week. And yeah, it's So, yep.
I did see a motivational speaker this morning, though. And
Other than me, but go ahead.
well, and you guys know this is true. The guy's like, if you nail Monday, and this has been true my entire life, if you nail Monday, the rest of the week, it's like running downhill. You just got this momentum. If Monday you've trouble sitting, you want the weekend to extend. You're like, what am I doing? You spend the morning trying to get organized and you're having trouble getting the lead out, getting the rust from the weekend out. Like it is, man, make the Monday count. So if you're listening
to this,
make
your bed. It's like the make your bed guy. Just make Monday great again. Eh? No? Nah,
Yeah.
all right.
And,
I'll keep working on it.
I can make my bed in like 9 seconds. I got to do that for the whole day on Monday. That's asking a lot, Joe.
Navy SEAL guy from the UT.
I understand, but he's not asking me for much when he just wants me to make my bed to like get off on the right foot. Joe's telling me I got to nail the whole day.
Oh boy. It's going to be trouble for Doug. Well, guess what? What we are going to nail is this headline. Jonathan Clements. A lot of people paying tribute to Jonathan Clements. We did last week, but we're going to do it even more today. Wonderful piece by Ron Lieber in the New York Times that we're going to walk through. So let's get to that. But before that, we have some sponsors to make sure we can keep on keeping on. You don't pay a dime for any of this. We're going to hear from them. And then we're going to dive into 5 pearls of wisdom from Jonathan Clements. You may not know that when we started Stacking Benjamins, it was a blog. And even then, just the startup cost, I remember thinking, is this the right thing? And what if I write things and nobody comes, right? Well, luckily, that didn't end up happening. But starting something new isn't just hard. It's terrifying. There's so much work. You're not sure whether it's going to work out. You're not sure if anybody's going to read it. And then we change it to a podcast. Is anybody actually going to listen, right? What if nobody wants all the stuff that we have? Well, had I used Shopify, it would have been even easier because with their expertise, their helpful tools, and their easy to use platform, that's something that would have made Stacking Benjamins more effective much, much more quickly. Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world and 10% of all e-commerce in the U.S. Names you've heard of like Heinz and Mattel, Shopify, Gymshark, Aviator Nation, Allbirds, also all Shopify. Get started with your own design studio with hundreds of ready-to-use templates. Shopify helps you build a beautiful online store that matches your brand style. And best yet, Shopify is your commerce expert with world-class expertise in everything from managing inventory to international shipping to processing returns and beyond. And did I mention that iconic purple Shop Pay button? It's used by millions of businesses around the world. It's why Shopify has the best converting checkout on the planet. It also helps boost conversions, meaning less carts going abandoned and more sales for you. So you're stacking Benjamins much more quickly. Time to turn those what ifs into with Shopify today. Sign up for your $1 per month trial today at shopify.com/SB. Go to shopify.com/SB. That's shopify.com/SB.
Insurance isn't one size fits all. That's why drivers have enjoyed Progressive's Name Your Price tool for years now. With the Name Your Price tool, you tell them what you want to pay, and they'll show you options that fit your budget. So whether you're picking out your first policy or just looking for something that works better for you and your family, they make it easy to see your options. Visit Progressive.com. Find a rate that works for you with the Name Your Price tool. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
For people who don't know who Jonathan Clements is, he was the longtime personal finance columnist at the Wall Street Journal. I knew of Jonathan Clements. We hadn't had him on the show yet. He'd been on the show a few times, of course, throughout the years. But Jonathan, before I knew him, he started sharing my tweets, which was really wild. It was really neat.
That's how you knew you made it.
I wouldn't have thought a man of his caliber was that desperate.
Me neither. I was like, you're following.
He must have confused you for someone else.
I know that my stuff was actually important.
The other Joe Saul-Sehy.
Ron Lieber in the New York Times writes, Jonathan Clements, Wall Street Journal personal finance columnist who may have done more than nearly anyone who didn't work at Vanguard to bring index funds to the masses, died a couple weeks ago after receiving a terminal cancer diagnosis. He was 62. A UK native with a dry wit and a sharp tongue for fools who chase stock market fads, Mr. Clements was resolved to see out his days in the wake of his diagnosis, much like he lived them before, in a cheerful state of frugality. 5 pearls of wisdom that Ron wanted to shine a light on. I love these guys, and I thought for our stackers, these can all help your financial plan so much. So let's dive in. Number 1 from Jonathan Clements: doing the thing you're passionate about is overrated for the young. Jonathan writes, when I talk to college students, I don't tell them to follow their dreams, Mr. Clements wrote in How to Think About Money in 2016. Instead, I tell them to focus on making and saving money. He goes on to consider the assumption that pursuing your passions is better to do in your 20s than in your 50s. I think that's nonsense, he wrote. In fact, I think just the opposite is true. If you can get yourself into great financial shape early, far from a sure thing in some economic environments, you can spend the last quarter or more of your career worrying less about money and more about happiness at work. What do you think about that, OG?
Yeah, oh, okay, fine. Go to OG first.
Yeah. Hey, Doug, you're starting to talk, so I'm going to pivot away from that.
I'm open. Go deep, Doug. Keep going. No.
Next time. No, you got it. Go ahead, Dougie.
I love that, because the other important piece there is that your passions change, and you probably don't have a really great sense of what is truly satisfying your soul at 20-ish versus 50 something. I just think you have a whole different perspective on life. You're much less impulsive later in life. And I think not only will you have that financial base to work from, which will allow you to explore more options, but it may not be quite as fantastical, as based in fantasy as it would have been in your 20s if you went off chasing windmills in your 20s. So I love that notion.
I'm thinking about this like a 20-year-old, because I have a 19-year-old at home. Well, he's not at home, but I can see his eyes rolling as we talk about like career choices and like, yeah, it's not like that anymore, Dad, though, whatever. And so I get these old guys don't know what they're talking about type of thing. But I'll give you some real world examples, or the way that I think about it from a planning perspective. The idea that I want you to have when you're in your 20s and 30s, and maybe even early 40s, it's all about trying to build in the potential for flexibility from 45 on. And like you said, Doug, at the end of the day, maybe the things that you are really excited about will change. But more importantly, you have to recognize that your circumstances are going to change. And when you're 25, you might not know if you're going to be married one day. You might not know if you're going to have a family one day. You might not know if you're going to have a health issue like Jonathan had one day, or you're going to have a family issue that requires you to move back home. You live in the big city and now you got to go back to the small town to take care of mom, or so, there's like all sort of stuff happens that you don't have any.
This became a Hallmark movie.
Well, it is. And then you find your high school crush, and turns out she's just recently divorced. And
your current boyfriend or girlfriend isn't living up to what you hoped.
And then chaos happens. So you don't know any of that. And maybe none of that happens. But the idea is you want to build in the opportunity for flexibility. And so rather than saying like, don't follow your passion or don't do these things that make you happy, think about it the other side and say, I want to be able to have the flexibility to do whatever I want in my 40s and 50s. And I can point to 2 examples of this recently. We have a client who works and has been working for some time, full career, and for many years has been kind of kicking around the idea of being done working, but he likes his job. And recently, within the last year or so, has found something that really he finds way more exciting and interesting than work. It takes about as much time as work, but is a complete volunteer project and kind of a passion thing now. We had an opportunity to chat. I don't think he'll mind me telling this story, but we had an opportunity to chat a couple of weeks ago, and all the time talking about work, you can almost see it. It was like, yeah, work. Anyway, but let me tell you about this cool thing. And then we did this, and then I have this, and then we're doing that, and then this. And you're like, well, I can see the difference in the energy here. Like, just go spend time on the energy thing. Well, he's a young guy. He's not 65. He's not retirement age. So the flexibility to be able to do that and to say, hey, I'm going to cut down from full-time to 80% so that I can spend more energy on this other thing. That's all because of the decisions in your 30s and 40s. I mean, that's where that happens.
Well, and some people are going to ask with that story, OG, they're like, well, wait a minute. Why doesn't he just go do the thing that lights him up and find a way to monetize it? Like, why doesn't he find a way to make that make money?
And not monetization possible. It's all charitable in intent.
I think there's a whole nother way to look at that. Another multiple time guest of the show, friend of the show, Scott Galloway, had a feeling about this. I want to play this clip from Scott here recently, talking about this idea of following your passion when you're young.
The less sexy an industry, the greater the return on your capital. I mean, we're just talking about the creative industry. You have to be in the top 1%, if not the top 0.1%. Last year, 83% didn't qualify for health insurance because they didn't make $23,000. And basically, it has almost an 80% unemployment rate. You want to be in modeling, sports, nightclubs, hospitality, fashion, anything that sounds cool. I don't want to crush your dreams, but if you aren't getting bright green signals that you might be in the top 10, 1.1%, go do something that sounds much less romantic. At NYU, we invite two types of speakers. One, really impressive credentialed people, or billionaires. And they always end the session with the worst advice you can give to a young person. Follow your passion. Anyone telling you to follow your passion is already rich. And the guy telling you to follow your passion made his billions in iron ore smelting. Here's what you do. When you're young, you want to find out what you're good at and what you could be amazing at. And ideally in an industry that has a 90+% employment rate. No kid dreams of being a tax lawyer. The top 10% of tax lawyers probably make over $1 million a year. The top 1% fly private and have a much broader selection set of mates than they deserve because they went into something that didn't have an overabundance of human capital. Every tax lawyer is employed.
My favorite line in that whole thing is have a much greater selection of mates than they deserve.
Well, and I mean, he advocates a lot for and talks about how your average person has a problem the way that we date today. We have big problems like trying to find a significant other. So he's like, hey, you want to be rich and you want a bunch of people that want to sleep with you,
hang out with you,
be a billionaire in iron ore smelting, which is boring as hell.
Right.
But you're good at it. And there's a huge employment rate.
That's the biggest thing. Find what you can be excellent and unique at and just make a crap load of money.
And I'll just add one last point to this. And I know we need to move on because we have 4 other pearls that we need to get to. But there is often an opportunity to find the intersection between the thing that you're good at, that you can earn a living at and make some money at, and the passion. My oldest and I are way, way into music. You know, we have huge, broad musical taste. We're constantly sharing music back and forth. We go to concerts with each other. It's just a major happy spot, driving point for us. And when he was in business school and focusing on finance, they had a great speaker come who was in the music industry. And he called me right afterwards and decided, Dad, I think I'm going to change my major and go into music. And it was really hard as a parent to squash that excitement that he had.
No.
But over a couple of discussions, I just said, what about this? What if you stick with finance, which is a hard skill that can be used in any industry, get your feet stable in the finance industry, and then go into music and own a record label or be a major promoter or work for the devil Ticketmaster. But you can take that finance background and be in the industry you want to be in, and then you get the best of both worlds.
I remember when Oscar Munoz was on the show, the former United Airlines CEO, and he was talking about doing that very thing, Doug. He went into finance. He had a degree in engineering, and he did then a business school. So he ends up getting all 3 areas. He knows the numbers, he knows the people count and where to put people in the right places and logistics, and he knows how the system works because of his engineering background. And that's what you need to be a good CEO. And what's funny is that goes beyond just the degree as well. It goes beyond the degree. It goes into really diving into your career. And Bonnie Hammer, the former vice chairperson for NBC Universal, was on the show on Memorial Day. And she talked to this very fact.
Those that just basically assume the world's going to be giving to them on a platter just because they went to college, got a decent degree. It's not happening, especially in this world right now. When you think about all the restructures that are going on right now, you think about AI taking over so many jobs, companies being closed, restructured, things changing around us. You can't be that fussy. And if you try different things and try out different opportunities, it's just going to help you grow and be prepared to move in a variety of different directions.
She talked about, Doug, I think what you were getting to, which is follow the opportunity. Don't follow your passion. Your passion might start the journey a little bit, but like Scott Galloway said, if you want to go into hospitality, a ton of those people are unemployed or they're not making any money. You have to look for opportunities. She was interested, like you are, Doug, in photography. But photography was going nowhere. It was far more boring than she thought it was going to be, setting up these ads for corporate accounts. And then she gets this opportunity in television. And so before long, she's working full time in this behind the scenes role in television, making good money for the industry that 25 years ago, when she was beginning, is rocking, not today, not rocking, but back then was rocking. So you have to be open to going where the water's flowing. But Jonathan Clements saying that back in 2016, saying that, I think, 9 years ago?
What? No, it wasn't. You did your math wrong.
I know. Isn't that horrible?
It was like 2 years ago.
I know. The year before last, 19, whatever. Jonathan Clements' second one here. Winning isn't everything, but not losing is really something. So what he says here, OG, is that you don't need to hit a home run. Everybody's looking to hit a home run with their money. The better thing to do? Stop effing up all the little things. If you automate, that makes sure the money goes to the right way. You're not losing dollars in the process. If you re-examine your car insurance, your homeowner's insurance once every other year, you're going to make sure you're not losing there. If you are not panicking during the next market downturn, you're just staying the course. The problem is that people get off going to use that golf analogy again, even though I'm not a golfer, people get out of the fairway. They get in the bunkers of life. They get behind the trees.
No argument here. You are not a golfer.
Not a golfer.
They get in the rough patches because they tried to, mix metaphor here, swing for the fences, right? And they miss. Boy. And they end up
to hit a dunk.
Joe's out of control, dude. You got to reel it back in here.
In the third period, they try to slam the dunk touchdown and they get in a bunker.
Yeah, I don't know what to do with any of that. It was good for a while.
My favorite sports team.
It's crazy. I just like it when the Dodgers score a bunch of safeties. Those are really fun. I mean, there are plenty of people out there who make can I say buttload? Is that an accurate term? Of money by being super concentrated and or being super risky and getting lucky. There's a reason why Iger has $500 million net worth, or Tim Cook does. It's not because they diversified. It's because they were the CEOs of very giant companies who largely did well while they were there. You know what I mean? And if you would have told Tim Cook to diversify, back in like 1998, like, I know you got them in this Apple stock, but we should probably put it in an index fund. He'd have, a tenth of the money that he does now. But for every Tim Cook, there's 1,000 or 10,000 other people who aren't lucky, don't have the same volume of stock options, who aren't at the top. And all of this, I think, stems from the feeling that you're behind. And if you just squash that idea that I need to catch up for some reason. Oh, I'm 30 and I haven't done anything. I need to be aggressive because I'm a little behind. I'm 40, I haven't done anything. I need to be aggressive because I'm behind, or I'm 50 and I'm behind and I need to do this thing. You don't have the flexibility to do that. You can't afford to have another 10-year period where things don't go according to plan. So the only rational solution is to be diversified and stay out of your own way. I would add one more to that. You talked about different ways of investing. I would also add avoiding high interest credit card debt.
Yeah.
It is profound, the amount of money that you have to make every single solitary month to pay the freaking interest bill on your credit card. It's not the payment. Like, people go like, well, I can afford the payment. Like, but you're not doing anything with that. Like, it's not like, it'd be one thing if it was like, it's a payment and I'm paying down the principal, and it's just, even at 0%, like I can sign off a little bit on the 0% stuff where you're like, yeah, I'm just spreading this cash flow out over 12 months. Like, okay, cool. I can kind of wrap my head around that. But when it's a 30% interest rate or 27% interest rate, and you're like, well, I can afford that. The payment's only $4,000 a month all in. I can afford that. It's like, but you're not doing anything with that four. Of that four, 3,800 goes to the bank. Like you are just literally pissing that $3,800 away every single month. So it's really trying to avoid the big mistake, right? That's the bombing out of the market when that goes down 30% and you can't take it. So you go in cash and you're sitting there waiting for the market to recover. There's people right now that did that in April. Oh, this is crazy. The tariffs, you don't have any idea. The last time this happened was in 1970 and the market was chaotic for an entire decade and I'm just going to get out and wait. And they're still waiting.
We spoke 2 weeks ago on Friday about using your 401k better. We had a fantastic roundtable discussion to help people tweak their 401k choices and decisions. And Jesse Kramer dropped this little nugget about high interest credit card debt and how it might make sense. The only time he might see you skipping the match on your 401k is if you have high interest credit card debt. And I don't know if you guys saw this, but our friend Stacker David in the Basement Facebook group brought this up and actually did a spreadsheet showing $20,000 in a fund earning 8% per year systematically and a credit card at 25%. Now, what OG, is that you don't get 8% systematically. You might get 3% and then 12% and then whatever. So that's going to grow in an uneven way. But that 25%, you're paying out to the credit card forever. But you only have half the credit card debt that you have at 8% in the market. By year number 5, that credit card debt is ahead of, even though it started at only 50% of the money that you had in the fund, by year number 5, it's crossed over. And the high interest credit card debt just killed your plan. You now, in year number 5, you've got $29,386 in the fund. And your high interest credit card debt is at $30,517. Now, not talking about payments and there's some stuff there, but if you just let that high interest roll, you're dying. It's ugly. Let's move on to number 3 on this, which is Jonathan wrote also famously, the tax man favors the patient. Quote, the tax code is stacked in favor of savers, Mr. Clements wrote in the little book of Main Street Money. This is awesome. It was one of the big takeaways for me, not just in Jonathan's writing, but also in a book that I have a love-hate relationship with called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. They talk about this idea of tax savings over long periods of time and about how taxes can be such a friction. But OG, if you're a saver, your money works so much more efficiently than you can. Like the payroll tax, there's so many taxes on a payroll tax versus the tax that your money pays that, man, having a bunch of money go to work for you every day just lets that compounding happen much faster than if you just try to get raises at work.
I do find it interesting. People say like, well, I'm only in the 22% tax bracket plus the state plus FICA, so you're really in the 35-ish percent, 32-ish, maybe, depending on what state you live in. And contrasting that to somebody who says, well, I don't want to rebalance this because then I have to pay a little bit of taxes on this. Or I don't want to sell that because I've paid. It's like, this is the cheapest money you can possibly pay taxes on, 15% straight, to your point. Like it's done, right? Even on retirement distributions, you just pay federal taxes on there. There's no employment taxes, right? There's no FICA on that as well. So yeah, investment taxes are the best taxes there are. And I was reading a post the other day on a finance blog, and one of the questions was, when do you start noticing the compounding? I'm saving money, I'm investing it, I'm at X dollars. I don't remember what the author said, maybe 100,000 or something. So like, when do you notice that it's kind of that snowball starting to work? Somebody said that for them, it was around 300,000 or 400,000 because a simple 1% move in the market, which happens, somewhat frequently, at 400,000 is a $4,000 day. And the person who responded was like, that's more money than I make in a week. So when my money, I look and I go, golly, this thing, even a quarter point change in a day is $1,000. That's a full on
second paycheck.
The market's open 270 days a year. So if your money makes $1,000 a day, that's a pretty, that's $270,000. That's, more than most people make every single year. Obviously it's not linear like that, but you get the idea. Just, you have to keep on doing the systematic stuff. And there is a day coming where you'll look and you'll go, wow, my money made more money than I put in. my money made more money than I made. My money made more money than I made for the last 2 years. It's like, you just have to follow the process when it comes to saving and investing, and let that little teeny tiny snowball start working on, in your favor.
Number 4 on Ron Lieber's list of pearls of wisdom from Jonathan Clements. Want to enjoy life more? Mr. Clements wrote in From Here to Financial Happiness, put down the remote, back slowly away from the television, and do something where you're a participant, not an observer. Oh, gee, this isn't just about having more money. In fact, it's funny. The show's called Stacking Benjamins, but really we take a wider view, right? We're looking at Benjamin's life. Look at all the things Benjamin Franklin did, not the money that he had. Stacking Benjamins is truly about stacking more life. And looking back at Jonathan Clements, you don't know when all of a sudden, the reaper comes, right? Shows up at your door and says, It's your turn. You don't know that. So stack those experiences.
Adventures, maybe.
Yeah. Stack those adventures. Number 5 is no, really do something. 4 and 5, Lieber's like, no, really. Let's put an exclamation point on this. Quote, there's a reason the world's gardens are full of benches that nobody ever sits on, Mr. Clements wrote, in How to Think About Money. We aren't built for leisure, built to relax. Rather, we're built to strive. This realization can be key to a happier retirement, given how much we humans love the feeling we're making some kind of progress. Retirement can be like a kind of continuation of one's career. We still need fulfilling work, he wrote. The only difference in retirement is we don't have to worry so much about whether it comes with a paycheck. Now, OG, and this goes back to point 1, right? Now that your buddy has the flexibility to do this thing that lights him up, it's still work, but now he's glowing, and who cares if there's not a paycheck attached? It doesn't matter, but you're still accomplishing something.
Yeah. And that goes back to the first point, which is all about flexibility. Just make hay when the sun shines. Try to think about the future a little bit and squirrel some away for a later time. Do it in a manner that's repeatable and systematic and keeps you out of the ditch most of the times, and let the process do its thing for 2 decades. And you'll wake up and go, oh, I have all this money and this flexibility, and I can choose my own adventure from here.
Jonathan had a great point about this the last time he was on the show, which was, he said that you really have 2 choices. You can live it up in your 20s when you don't have much money, and you can go to nice places. You can spend a ton of money, but realize you're not going to be able to do that later. Then you're going to be locking down the later years of your life. There's no free lunch for 99.9% of us. On the other side, you can be very frugal when you're young. You can squirrel that money away. And not only, OG, does that give you the flexibility later on, but it also, and I love when Jonathan said this, you're nearly as happy out camping as you are at the Four Seasons, because you did camping when you were in your 20s, but now you can also stay at the Four Seasons, which Jonathan said, I do a lot now, and it's really nice. It's super fun. But if I ever want to go back to camping, it's different than if I partied hard in my 20s and I only did the Four Seasons. I'd be like, oh, campground. Ugh, gross. Can't do that.
Now you're camping unwillingly.
Right.
You would be.
Right.
Because you'd have no money to do anything else.
Right. Great points there, Mr. Lieber. Ron Lieber nails it as always. We will link to Ron's piece in the New York Times in our show notes at stackingbenjamins.com. And of course, in our newsletter, the 201, not only do we have a guide to Wednesday's interview with our mentor, Mel Dorman, but we also are going to dive more into this headline as we do every week in the 201, stackingbenjamins.com/201. Time for us to take a quick break for Doug's trivia so you can be the smartest person at the virtual water cooler on your next Zoom call. Doug, how are you going to help people get smart this week?
I have no idea, Joe, but let's find out. Sometimes I just stumble upon stuff. Hey there, stackers. I'm Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug, and on today's date, I learned that people discovered potassium. I mean, sure, yeah, it had been there the whole time, but before October 6th, 1807, and some dude named Humphrey Davy, everyone thought some foods just tasted really good. They didn't know that they contained potassium. That sounds great. I'm going to go grab a potassium-filled food right now and eat it while seeing what Joe's written me for trivia. Okay. Well, that's good. That's a good one. Okay. Where's that question? Here it is. Right here. What is the potassium-filled food that has so much potassium in it? So much potassium. That they're technically radioactive because of how much potassium they contain? Oh God. Oh, gee, not for nothing, but am I glowing right now?
It's the lotion.
I'll be back after I go see if everyone needs protective coverings now. Can't be too safe around Joe's ma.
You didn't start a business just to keep the lights on. You're here to sell more today than yesterday. You're here to win. Lucky for you, Shopify built the best converting checkout on the planet. Like the just one tapping, ridiculously fast acting, sky-high sales stacking, champion of checkouts. That's the good stuff right there. So if your business is in it to win it, win with Shopify. Start your free trial today at shopify.com/win.
Did you know Fast Growing Trees is America's largest and most trusted online nursery with thousands of trees and plants and over 2 million happy customers? Whether you're planting fruit trees, adding privacy, brightening things up with flowers, or bringing in houseplants, Fast Growing Trees has it all. Even better, they can help you find options that are right for your climate, your space, and lifestyle. Click Order Grow. Every plant arrives healthy with the Alive and Thrive guarantee straight to your door. So if you're ready to get planting, this is the moment. Right now, they have great deals on spring planting essentials, up to half off on select plants. And listeners to our show get 20% off their first purchase when using the code WWO at checkout. That's an additional 20% off. Better plants and better growing at fastgrowingtrees.com using the code WWO at checkout. Fastgrowingtrees.com, code WWO. Now's the perfect time to plant. Let's grow together. Use WWO to save today. Offer is valid for a limited time. Terms and conditions apply. Go to growingfasttrees.com for details.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Stop waiting around for the perfect candidate. Instead, use Indeed sponsored jobs to find the right people with the right skills fast. It's a simple way to make sure your listing is the first candidates see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs have 4 times more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. So go build your dream team today with Indeed. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey there, stackers. I'm former potassium lover and guy who may be a basement-based Chernobyl problem, Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug. Well, either it hasn't worked its way through my body yet, or my stomach is every bit as solid as they tell me down at the Sizzler after my 3rd shrimp platter. But my question was this: what food was I just eating that is so potassium rich that technically it's radioactive? The answer, of course, it's bananas. I mean, like the fruit, not crazy. It's bananas. And now, 2 guys who are bananas for a good, solid exchange-traded fund, Joe and OG.
Oh, check this out, guys.
We just got a letter. We just got a letter. We just got a letter. Wonder who it's from.
Kat sent us a note and said, "Hey, Joe, longtime listener, Stacky Benjamins. I have a question that I thought could be an interesting one to debate. So, OG, ready to debate? Let's debate."
Doug's a master debater.
I was recently
It's the
laid
only
off
reason I'm here.
and given a severance of 3 months. If Doug doesn't stop debating so much, he will go blind.
Go blind. Yeah.
I was recently laid off, given a severance of 3 months. Since I live frugally and I have a small side hustle, I should be able to stretch that severance to 6 months. However, having seen the writing on the wall, given the industry I'm in is a downward spiral, I have 1 year of expenses saved in my high yield savings account, making 3.75% in interest. My thought and question is to take the chunk of money from my severance and put it in my brokerage account, which averages 9.2 in growth currently, and draw from the 1 year of emergency savings, only making 3.75. Seems like simple math to me.
God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
But is there something more I should be considering before I take the plunge? If it's valuable to the question and conversation, the current job market, my industry's dim, with most executives at my level taking approximately 18 months to find another position. However, I do have a side hustle that brings in between 30 to 50% of my needed monthly nut. So realistically, I can likely make this 1 year emergency fund last 18 to 24 months, provided no other emergencies happen. Also, I'm not necessarily interested in returning to my industry. It's too unstable for my taste. And while I'm keeping my options open and applying to jobs in my current industry, I will also be devoting my fun employment time to building my side hustle and new full-time thing. So thoughts, 9.2, that's greater than 3.75. Is that all I need to consider? So I think halfway through that question, we got OG's take, but OG, why, to quote you and Michael Scott, oh God, no. Oh God, no.
The reason is because of all of the things that she mentioned before. I don't know what the future is going to hold. I don't know if I can find work. I'm pretty confident that I can do this. Why wouldn't you want to have the continued flexibility and safety of being able to extend that and not have to go find work? Because the risk that you run in a relatively short period of time is you take that severance money, and I'm going to say you made $10,000 a month. And so your severance check is $60,000. There's a very real chance that you can take that $60,000, dump it in the market, and 5 months from now, when you are out of cash, or 8 months when you're out of cash, and you're like, I'm going to go back to this other account, that 60,000 is worth 40. Very much can happen in that short period of time. Now, if you said, I've got 10 years on this 60,000, okay, I believe that in 10 years from now, that 60 will be worth 120. That I will sign off on. But I can't promise it in the next 10 weeks or 10 months. And the impact is so profound in terms of how that affects you from a cash flow standpoint, and from, being able to extend your unemployment, to be able to find the thing that you really want to do, or to build up the side hustle to make it your main hustle, or you need to have that runway in case everything doesn't go exactly perfect. And the other thing that I would think about here is, what exactly are you getting? Like, what's the delta? And just to make math easy, I'm going to say it's 4% and 9%, so I can do it in my head. If you put that $60,000 and you're making 4%, that's $2,400, right? So you got $2,400 sitting in the account. If instead you make 9%, so 9 times 60,000 is $5,500, $5,400, right? The delta here is $3,000. I get that that's not zero. $3,000 is not an insignificant amount of money, but what do you gain? You gain $3,000 of potential return, 4 versus 9, in exchange for minus 30 potentially happening, where your 60 turns into 42,000. Like, that's not a good trade.
Specifically to our new stackers, because there is a piece, OG, that I think you jumped right over, which our experienced stackers already know, but new stackers might be going, wait a minute, Kat didn't say anything about the market. They just said 9.2 versus 3.75, and 9.2 is higher. You immediately went into, well, that means it's in the, how do you know that Kat's talking about a market and the potential for loss when she says 9.2%?
Well, because there's nothing else that would have that. There is no savings account that pays 9. There's no CD that pays 9. There's no guaranteed outcome at 9. And the reason you know that is because all the banks are paying 3. If all the banks are paying 9, then the stock market will be producing 20, because there still has to be that delta there. But,
and I think that's the key here that you're getting at, is 9.2 carries risk.
A profound amount. On the surface, you say, well, 9 is better than 3, or 9 is better than 4. And it is, if you extrapolate it for the next 30 years. If you said, well, I could put this money here for 30 years and I get 9 or I get 4, like, which one's better? You eliminate virtually all of the volatility risk because it's a 30-year time horizon. And the compounding effect of growing at 9 instead of 4 is profound. But in a 12-month period, you have all the volatility risk, all the ups and downs, and you don't get a lot of compounding benefit in that time. I understand that it's still more money. $3,000 is maybe another month worth of expenses. But the trade is, I might get a minus 18. You would never go to the casino. You would never play a game where you said, I'm going to give you either $3,000 or you give me 18. And any number in between there, we're going to just roll a dice, and whatever comes up is going to be what it is. Because you look at that, you go, the number scale doesn't work. I'm plus 3 on one side and minus 18 on the other. There's so much more minuses than pluses. It's not worth it. If you take that time frame and make it from a year to 30 years, you go, I'm going to give you, plus 100 or plus 85. you go, well, okay, I'll take that deal. Like there is no downside to me ever. This has too much downside. So anyways, I just belabored that too much. Michael Scott said it best.
Well, I don't think you belabored it too much at all, because this goes back to Jonathan Clements earlier today. We think we need to hit a home run. We think that we need the 9%, where the potential outcome is so bad. If there is another emergency, Kat said, if there's not another emergency, this will be great. There's always another emergency.
Well, and she's right. Yeah. If there is no other emergency, it would be awesome.
Yeah.
Right.
And if we knew 9.2 was a straight line, which we also know it's not.
What's the phrase? If hopes and butts were coconuts or something? I don't know.
Wow. That was back to your second grade teacher, right?
Somebody said that.
Was that just the lessons OG got in second grade? I want to talk for a second about something Kat's doing, though, that's really good that I think a lot of stackers forget about. And we gloss over this all the time. But, we talk about these little fundamental moves. They don't make a lot of money, but they give you stability. And while you have stability, you actually are getting a little bit of a return. So you said $3,000 isn't insignificant, but there's all that risk attached to it. OG, for people that are leaving a bunch of money in their checking account or at a savings account with a major bank, the fact that Kat has a high yield savings account paying 3.75% is fantastic. Like that's probably the optimal place for her to, well, I think that is the optimal place for her to be with this money and to add that money too. But having that high yield savings account, we forget about this advice all the time, but go get one. If you don't have one, what are you waiting for? This is free money you're giving away.
Correct.
Yes.
Well, I actually was just thinking of, as OG was recommending that to me, I don't know, 3-4 years ago, I had the standard savings account and checking account with my primary bank. He's like, you got to move most of that to a high yield. And initially I wasn't comfortable with moving most of the savings to a high yield savings until two things. One, the one that he recommended had great flexibility. Like I could move money overnight. And he just said, what's the biggest check you think you're ever going to have to write? Like overnight in less than 24 hours. It's not as big as you think it is. I mean, you're not going to have to write a $7,000 check like this afternoon because something happens. If it's a co-payment, on your insurance for your car or something like that, or deductible, you got time on that one to transfer money from your high yield back to a more transactional system that you can write a check out of. So really a vast majority of your savings, if not entirely, all of it could be in a high yield savings account because they're so flexible and fluid now. They didn't used to be, I don't think.
It was the same thing, Doug, with Cheryl at first when we got our high yield savings account. So I don't think I want to do this.
Yeah, feels weird.
And then she did it with a little bit of money that she thought was, quote, extra money. And I would say within 3 months, almost all the money went into the high yield.
Right.
She's like, what did I wait so long for this? Now, not a sponsor of the show. We have no affiliation with this company. I use Ally.
Yep.
I really like it because we can use buckets inside of one high yield savings account, and I can bucket our money. So we've got this for the next trip fund. We got this for our home improvement fund. We're doing a big home improvement project right now. And you know what's cool, Doug, to your point, is that every other week on this project, the builder comes to us with the money he needs for the next 2 weeks, right? He's like, hey, I've got this that is due on today. If I can pick up a check. And Cheryl tells him every time, she's like, great, I'll give you a check. Can you hold it till Monday? So she can transfer the money to Ally. This is going to come as a big shock, Doug. Guess what the builder says every single time? Yes.
Yeah.
Of course.
Right.
No problem. Yes, I will. So we hand him the check after we transfer it over to our regular bank where we can write the check out. It's super easy, super duper easy. I want to address, Kat, you going into the side gig because, you spent a lot of time talking about how much you may not want to go back into this field that you were in. This idea of turning your side gig into your full-time gig, I think is a great opportunity. I love it when somebody opens up a whole different chapter of their life to try out the thing that they always wanted to do. A book I'm reading about that right now is written by one of the creators of Doug, coffee firm that's up by where you are, not OG where you and I are in Texas, but up in Michigan, one of the creators of Big B Coffee.
Oh, no kidding.
Big B Coffee expanding all the time. Love going into Big B Coffee, by the way. Now, also not a sponsor of the show. I would love it if Big B Coffee sponsored us because I like that. But this guy wrote 2 really good books. First one is called Grind. Get it? Coffee Grind. But it's about when you have a new business that you're trying to make succeed. And I feel like as I'm reading this book, it's all the advice I would have wanted to give to a new entrepreneur, that if I had it to do over again, I would have done everything it says in this book. It is so good. And it gets rid of all the horrible stuff that you see failed entrepreneurs preach. Like, as an example, everybody in a big business is great at everything about massaging the product, making the product look better, making the product feel better, taste better, whatever it is. You know what the number one job is, Doug? Sales.
Oh, yeah.
Number one. He goes, but in a big business, nobody's good at sales. You got a lot of great people who can do a lot of great stuff. But the one thing you need to get comfortable with and get good at is sales. Because if you don't have sales, you don't live.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
Full stop.
My mind immediately went to what I think of as an analogous mindset of Dan Gilbert when he was building up Quicken Loans. It's now the Rocket Companies, but as listeners may have heard, I worked there for a while. And he said, I could put a lot of you smart people in a room and you could figure out how you could save, a couple $1,000s a month on coffee, to stick with that, because he used that as an analogy. And we could find a cheaper supplier for our coffee. But I'd rather take those same smart minds and put you in a room and figure out how we can generate more revenue.
More business.
Yeah. So it's not always sales, because you may not have a sales role in your title, but there are ways you can think about generating revenue in the role you're in. And even not, how much would a company appreciate your enthusiasm to think outside of your role, and how the company
Those are
can
always
earn
the
more
most
money.
valuable people in any company.
Absolutely.
But if you're the founder, you are most often, even when you have your first 3 or 4 people working for you, you're going to be the salesperson. You're more passionate than anyone about it. And you can't afford to delegate sales to somebody else. You need that to come in. And if I hired Doug to do it and he takes a day off to eat bananas and go nuclear, well, then we got a
It's
problem.
in the contract, Joe. I get to do that.
See, it's exactly what I'm talking about. But anyway, Kat, good luck with the business, and love this question. If you've got a question for us, you know what? You can call in. stackingbenjamins.com/voicemail is the way to call us. And if you call, we're going to send you some swag. And you see our sweet new store, the Stacker Supply Company, stackingbenjamins.com/swag. What a fun store. We were looking at it together, Doug and Tina and I, yesterday.
Just right behind how great some of those swag items are, the products are, is the writing. Like, just go to the website just to read some of the descriptions. The team has just knocked it out of the park. There's some really clever stuff in there.
It's so damn over the top.
Yeah.
It's so over the top.
That's not us at all. We never do that.
No.
It's not on brand, but they just went
another,
their own direction.
Just another boring financial podcast. What's going on in the neighborhood, Doug, before we say goodbye?
Yeah, Joe, one thing I want to make sure we point out is we've got another great meetup group, a Stacking Benjamins group that has started, and we definitely want to give props out to Chris for putting that all together.
Yeah, Chris and our buddy Cole Ferrier. Chris and Cole doing a great job with help from Stacker Rebecca, who actually founded this group, came up with the idea and wanted to get it rolling. So it's rolling this coming month.
I think it's like a week from Tuesday. So October 14th, the Seattle group is meeting at the Poodle Dog restaurant in the bar. So I'm already a fan of this group because they're just getting straight to the good stuff. 7:00 specific time at the Poodle Dog restaurant in the bar. And it's in Fife, Washington, which is down kind of Tacoma-ish, Gig Harbor-ish.
On the way to Tacoma. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So if you're anywhere in the Pacific Northwest, it's so close to everything in the Pacific Northwest. It's easy to travel around. You're in San Francisco, just drive, San Fran, as they like to say, just get there. Get
just
to the
drive
Poodle
up.
Dog.
That's all you got to do.
Yeah, just drive. It's like New England, right? Everything's 20 minutes away. But anyway, if you're anywhere in the in that area, get to the Poodle Dog restaurant 7:00 on October 14th and go straight to the bar.
It's perfect. And by the way, our Twin Cities group. So now we have 2 meetup groups, Seattle and Minneapolis, St. Paul. Just put in Stacking Benjamins Twin Cities or Stacking Benjamins Seattle and go join those groups. We also do online activities with each of these groups. So we get everybody together, have a great time, meet like-minded people.
Yeah, for sure. Do that. But Joe, we also, before we finish our drinks here on the back porch, there's some really big stuff happening with guides, right?
Oh, yeah. The guide update every month. We update these guides. So if you are somebody who gets the guides, guess what? Go to your email, make sure it's not in your spam. If you have the company benefits guide, we just added professional development. A lot of companies pay for professional development. Even if they don't, we've got this great checklist to try to get your boss to send you to professional benefits, to conferences, to whatever it is. I got to use this checklist with OG every time I want to go to FinCon or any other thing. So I thought that we'd make a checklist. On the tax guide, man, the OBBB, we keep digging into this thing and people keep coming out with, oh, here's another creative way to use it. Here's another way. So we dive into Trump accounts more, child tax credit changes, good stuff out of the OBB in this month's guide. And then in the college planning guide, October 1st, the FAFSA, you can finally send in your FAFSA. And here's the deal with the FAFSA that people, if you're new to this idea of college, you may not know. Financial aid is first come, first serve. They don't wait till everybody submits their stuff by X date and they compare yours with everybody else. They evaluate yours on the merits of, does it fit or not? And if it does, they give you the financial aid. They allocate it to you. So these funds do run out of money. So if you think that there's any chance for financial, even if you don't think there's a chance for financial aid, you want to fill out the FAFSA. October 1st was the first day that you could do that last week. So got to get on it. By the way, on Wednesday, Doug, Robert Farrington from the College Investor and I are going to do a FAFSA 101 for people to get comfortable with this. So if you're brand new to this FAFSA game, join us, stackingbenjamins.com/FAFSA. And that's going to be a YouTube live event.
Is it Wednesday the 8th?
Yep, in 2 days. So
2 days.
8:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 Pacific. And sign up, as I said, stackingbenjamins.com/FAFSA. It'll be about an hour long as we intro this and make it a little less scary.
Joe, before we're done on the back porch, I have to say, Michelle posted perhaps the greatest dad joke of all time in the basement. She said, what do you call a man who has finished digging?
I don't know.
Doug.
The
best joke of all time.
Hold on a second.
That thing needs a whole drum solo.
On that great note, thank you. Who posted that, Michelle?
Michelle.
Nice job, Michelle. Thanks to Michelle. Thanks to everybody for lending us your ears. Coming up on Wednesday, we're back talking about real estate that we haven't talked about in a few months. Mel Dorman's here. She had an amazing TEDx video that went viral with her incredible story. She's going to talk about helping your community and helping yourself at the same time. So wonderful story from Mel that you've got to hear. But the first thing you got to hear to get out of this episode are the 3 things that should be on your to-do list now that our time here is done. Doug?
That's right, Joe. First, take some advice from Jonathan Clements. Don't follow your passion, follow what you're good at and exploit that advantage. Extra points if you choose something, quote, boring. Second, take a big win that Cats had. That emergency fund, keep it in a high-yield savings account. Sure, it isn't huge money, but it could pay for a few more groceries each week. But the big lesson? You know how Imagine Dragons have that song where they say they're radioactive? Who knew they were that big on bananas? Coming up on Wednesday, we're talking real estate. It's been months since we've covered that topic, and Mel Dorman gave a huge, moving TEDx talk about her real estate journey. Now, she's coming down to Mom's basement to chat about helping build your community and your life using something called seller financing. How does it work? She'll share on Wednesday, so don't miss it. This show is the property of SB Podcasts, LLC, copyright 2025, and is created by Joe Saul-Sehy. Joe gets help from a few of our neighborhood friends. You'll find out about our awesome team at stackingbenjamins.com, along with the show notes and how you can find us on YouTube and all the usual social media spots. Come say hello. Oh yeah, and before I go, not only should you not take advice from these nerds, don't take advice from people you don't know. This show is for entertainment purposes only. Before making any financial decisions, speak with a real financial advisor. I'm Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug, and we'll see you next time back here at the Stacking Benjamin Show.
Saw some weird news over the weekend, gents. In the Czech Republic, they found an envelope from Czechoslovakia's founding father. Listen to this.
Did it have the original recipe for Chex Mix?
Well, that's the thing. This is from Prague. Unknown musings of the founding father of an independent Czechoslovakia, its first president, Tomáš Garrigue Masaryk. I'm sure our Czech fans are going to say, Joe, you missed on that one. Are believed to have been unearthed. An envelope whose existence was unknown to living members of the family was unveiled at a live broadcast 2 Fridays ago with President Peter Pavel in attendance. Speculations swirled about what it may contain. Guess what they decided to do? They decided that they wouldn't open it for another 20 years. So they're not going to open it for 20 years. I think we should speculate as stackers about what's in that envelope.
Yeah, I think in 20 years, this is going to be a Geraldo Rivera moment.
It totally is. My first choice for this one, Doug, they're going to open it up. They're going to have all the nation's TV cameras on it. And the top line's going to say toilet paper. The next one's going to say cheese slices. And the third line's going to say birthday card for mom. It's like a grocery list or something.
Or the ink will have run out somehow and go I guess we can't read it after all. We should have done this 20 years ago to see.
With the ink all faded. Yeah.
What if it says invest everything in a Roth IRA? This is scribbled down, but only if you don't have an HSA. And then
this
it
whole
says
Republic thing is a really terrible idea. We should go back to communism.
I have no idea what a Roth IRA is or an HSA, but that sounds good. Or don't under any circumstances loan money to cousin Pavel.
Bitcoin FTW.
Bitcoin. I got this idea for a cryptocurrency. Well, I guess we'll find out in 20 years what's going on.
We'll still be making podcasts.